Question 12, which relation is also a function? So I got the definition of a function. It's every x value corresponds to exactly one y value. And I'm going to give a kind of a visual definition here in just a second. But for instance, let's take this first answer choice and look at these 2 points right here side by side. What are the coordinates for those 2 points? Well, the top point, the topmost point right here appears to be at -3, -1. And then the point directly below it is -3, -2. So this violates that definition because we have an x value here that's corresponding to 2 different y values. An x value of -3 is going to -1, and it's going to -2, which means this is not a function. Now, there's an easier way to do this. There's also something called the vertical line test. The vertical line test is essentially the same rule. It's just a visual way to do this where you don't have to write out the points. If you can draw a vertical line and it hits the graph or the function, or sorry, the graph in more than one point, then it's not a function. And we can see clearly here, these 2 points right here, if we draw a vertical line straight up and down, it's going to hit both of those points, which means it's not a function. If you can draw a vertical line and it doesn't hit the graph, if it only hits the graph in a single point, no matter where you draw that vertical line, like for instance, we can draw the vertical line here, it only hits 1 point. Draw it here, only hits at 1 point. That's okay, but this part right here in the middle, it violates that definition of a function, which means it is not a function. Let's look at answer choice 2. This one we don't have a visual, so we want to go back to the definition. Every x value corresponds to a single y value. So here we see -1 corresponds to +4. Well, do we see -1 anywhere else? Yeah, right here. So -1 corresponds to 4, and it corresponds to 0. So that means this also is not a function because the x value corresponds to 2 different y values. Answer choice 3. Again, we have x equals 0 corresponds to y equals 0. Do we see 0 anywhere else? No. So that point's okay. Then we go to x equals 1. It corresponds to +1, and it corresponds to +2. Again, that means it is not a function. And then finally, we've got a graph. This has to be the correct answer choice, but here we would want to use the vertical line test. Can you draw a vertical line at anywhere in this graph and it hits it in more than 1 point? And the answer is no. No matter where you draw that vertical line, it only hits the graph in a single point. So that means every x value is corresponding to a single y value. So this answer choice is a function and the one we would select.